Your agency will be separating children from their parents. And I
No,
would assume
what we'll be doing is prosecuting parents who've broken the law, just as we do every day in the United States of America.
I can appreciate that. But if that parent has a 4-year-old child, what do you plan on doing with that child?
The child under law goes to HHS for care and custody.
They will be separated from their parent.
Just like we do in the United States every day.
So they will be separated from their parent.
That was the head of Homeland Security, Kirstjen Nielsen, earlier this month. She was trying to justify the Trump administration's new policy of separating children from their parents when they enter the U.S. Meanwhile, as the outrage over the new policy grows, it comes amid reports that the Trump administration has lost nearly 1,500 kids who have crossed the border. And in a new statement this afternoon, the White House is trying to place all of the blame on Democrats. Joining me now is David Leopold. He's an immigration attorney and former president of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. So I want to get two things straight. There's one policy of separating families when they try to cross the border, and there's another where underage kids come to the border alone. They're taken into custody by HHS. Two things. Tell me how these two stories end up relating to each other today.
Yeah, very important question, Katie, because there is a lot of confusion out there, not only in the media, but in social media, on Twitter, Facebook. You've got two issues here. You've got the issue of the 1,500 kids. These are unaccompanied minors that came in, were taken into custody as unaccompanied minors by Health and Human Services eventually, and due to agency incompetence over the last several years, have been apparently lost in the system. That is a question of governmental incompetence. That is a question that has to be investigated and resolved. But importantly, it's separate and apart from what's going on now at the border under the Trump administration. The Trump administration has announced that they are going to be separating mothers from their babies, fathers from their children at the border. These are people who come here and apply for asylum both at the ports of entry, they're coming lawfully at the ports of entry, and those who enter undocumented. And if the Trump administration never answers that question, that people at the border are also being separated from their children. Just look at the ACLU's lawsuit in San Diego, where they've sued on behalf of a Congolese woman, Mrs. L, she's called, who came in legally at the San Diego port of entry, applied for asylum. And her daughter, her young daughter, was taken from her in November and only reunited after the valiant efforts of the ACLU going into court. So what we have going on at the border and at other areas is a systematic policy by the Trump administration to purposefully instill harm on children by separating them from their mothers.
Is this law?
This is not. There's nothing in the law that requires it, of course, and I would argue that it's unlawful, that it approaches, you know, some of the darkest days of the 20th century. This is what authoritarian governments do, you know, and Masha Gessen, a writer for the New Yorker, has a brilliant piece on this over the last couple of days. This is taking children, virtually kidnapping children, holding children hostage, is a tool of authoritarians. And you know, this is not going on other than the purposeful policy of the Trump administration. Chief of Staff John Kelly talks about how this is going to deter asylum seekers from coming to the United States, taking children from their parents. Mind you, applying for asylum in the United States is lawful. It is under every law that we have signed on to internationally. It is in our own laws. So it's the Department of Homeland Security, it's the White House taking children from their mothers. They're violating the law. They're the ones who should be answering to the law, to the courts. And hopefully the ACLU lawsuit in San Diego will bear this out. It's a very strong lawsuit, and we're hoping to get a decision shortly in that case.
We're going to keep an eye out on that. David Leopold. David, thank you very much.
Thank you, Katie.
And up next, remembering our fallen heroes on this Memorial Day.